Man! Motoko! Manliest anime ever! I mean, it is the best shit ever, this anime. Because of these muscles, because of the abs. No, they have some really nice abs. Look at the 8-pack on Sugimoto. Yeah, they have some really nice abs, right? But I mean, the anime is amazing. The episode 1 immediately, like, this is why I watch Golden Kamuy, right? Such a good episode. Every damn time we go to Kamuy, I tell people all the time, like, every episode in Golden Kamuy, so much stuff happens, right? So much stuff happens. Immediately, it's like, Wolverine fighting him, it's a dog chase, and then it's some fight with the Russians, and then it's a martial art tournament, you know. There's always so much happening in this anime. And yeah, this is such an amazing anime. I said last time when I reviewed it, right? My channel's been new. I was like, this anime is so interesting in its pace, you know. I feel the same thing in this episode here too, but it's like 10, 20 different scenes, so it's super high paced in the sense that so much is happening, but it isn't that, you know, like a comparison to Tokyo, where it's like, here are 50 characters, bam, bam, name, dead, whatever, yeah, like that's just like too high paced. When it's clear that the manga has spent, you know, chapter after chapter explaining everyone's power and so on, and the anime is like, yeah, and it's like, it's alright. Here instead, you feel that the anime has that manga pacing, right? Usually the manga is so high paced. Yeah, so much is happening, so much new characters, a new Ainu girl, some Ainu grandpa, some Russians, it's so much. This is how Golden Kamuy is, right? It's like 10 new characters every episode, in a sense, but because it's kind of like, you know, they kind of there and they leave immediately, and it's going to quickly resolve it. It just works so well in Golden Kamuy. It just works so well having all these characters. And of course, one thing too, which I always say about Kamuy, the comedy is so goddamn funny, right? Every time he's showing the image, oh no, it's that man behind you. God damn it, it's the wrong image, yeah, like, and he keeps showing people the different images of him in these like weird angles and showing his muscles, and he's like, why are you doing this stuff? It's like, yeah, like, and the lingon. So as I said in the reaction, lingon is lingonbär. It's a very classic, you know, northern food thing, right? It's a berry, and as I mentioned, the rest one in Sweden, which of course Russia is pretty close, even though this is not, you know, but in northern at least hemisphere, right? Lingon, then as this lady had, it's a very common food in Sweden, right? And it's very, very popular. And the classic meatball, right? So the typical svensk köttbullar is done with a lingon. Then, so you have your meatballs, right? You have your brunsås, like a gravy sauce. It's potato, like classic, just classic cooked potatoes on crazy up. Just classic cooked potatoes, right? Cooked potatoes, and then you have lingon sauce. Then, so lingon sauce. So you take lingon, right? You can you know, make like a, I guess, yeah, take lingon. You can you know, crowd them together. You can make like a berry sauce with like a thick a lingon mixture. You might have some salt, pepper in, and so on as well. But it's usually just pure lingon, and you grow lingon in my, not in my hometown, I mean in my home garden, right? Not here, of course, but I mean, when I lived in Sweden, in my mother's house and so on, I had lingon, for example, in the garden. And all the classic thing is like, you know, strawberries. So we had a lot of strawberries also in the garden, right? For example. And yes, we had a 2-floor garden. So actually, yeah, my home where I lived had a huge garden. Like we had one, you know, the house, right, and then the house garden and then garage and so on, and then you had a staircase up to another garden, like another level of garden, and that garden we had like apple trees and strawberries and a lot of blueberries. We had a huge amount actually of blueberries, or blåbär then, which is not the same thing as American blueberries. So you have the kind of the North American blueberries, which is people mean say blueberry in English, but then you have the European, or usually again the Scandinavian blåbär, which is like another European blueberry, so they have different tastes. So they look similar, but they're not the same, and they don't taste the same either. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of blåbär, and they're really good. So we had, because the house was located, the second garden part, next to the mountain range, it's like a huge mountain where I lived in, and there was so much wild blåbär that growing on the mountain, and some of them grew into our garden then. But we had like a gigantic, it was like a freaking, I don't know, 20 square meter blåbär. Like, I mean like a huge area. I mean like a freaking apartment area of blåbär, like riktigt som alla blåbär. So we had that, and also of course wild strawberries, which is then smultron in Swedish. Those like growing kind of wild with your strawberries, so awesome, very good. But lingon then, very very Swedish. As I mentioned in the episode here, right, lingon grows then in like the, you know, northern hemisphere primarily and so on, and it's yeah, it's quite sweet, quite sour. He talked about other food too, so I was like, is that Lingon too? No, it's similar. But anyway, yeah, that's my Lingon backstory here, guys. No, but Lingon is a classic food, tastes out very good with meat, right? It's a classic, as I mentioned, meatball thing. And I will probably have it when I go back home for Christmas, which I probably do. I mean, that's possible. But so on, yeah, so it's very classic there. But anyway, Golden Kamuy is back. No, but I was like, Lingon! I was talking about this Lingon here. Same thing like One Piece would have semla with Big Mom. It's like, semla? That's a Swedish food, yeah. Semla, of course, is this. I don't even like. I dislike semlas though. Semlas are very fat. It's like, it's, you know, bread, whatever it's called, King Golden Millie, which I almond, I guess, yeah, which I really dislike. And you have a lot of, you know, whipped cream, and then, you know, bun with sugar on. It's super unhealthy. Lingon is great for you. Semla is super unhealthy. But anyway, that's one reason though why I love the anime, right? Of course, from a historical nerd aspect, right? Like now we're going into Sakhalin, which is then northern Japan at this time, right? They're gonna have this like borderline between Japan and Russia, right? This was part of the big war, right? As of course the anime is following the Shino Yasha forward, 1904, 1905. And that's why this anime is, I think, really good too, right? Because you have all these like kind of cultural aspects, the historical aspects, like this food here. I guess then again, the Lingon, right? It's very popular, as this woman said, like the northern, like Russia and, you know, Russia and Sweden and so on, yeah. And because one thing is because it grows there, right? Yeah, it grows, like I mentioned in my hometown, it grows there and so on, right? It doesn't grow very well other places, right? And also, of course, some things, some, you know, food cultivation is because maybe people would like to have an orange in Sweden, right? But you can't grow it there. So, yeah, because it's too cold, right? So Lingon, of course, is surviving in the cold pretty well, right? So all that, you know, you love this anime, you love it. I mean, I really love this anime. All the different, yeah, the different foods and the discussion about different stuff, and, you know, all the different, you know, how it connects into it being like a historical anime. Even though it's crazy, right? And everything is super, you know, to the extreme, but they have, as always, Golden Kamuy has that historical feel to it. Oh, here's the Ainu, and have this thing, and they even explain, like, we have, you know, Sakhalin Ainu, we have the, you know, Hokkaido Ainu, and we have the Ryukyu Ainu, we have those the islands to the east of Japan, which is Japan today then, but they call something, I remember they call something else in the anime, but yeah, they have a specific name for it. But it's another, you know, few islands, small islands east of Japan, right, which are part of Japan. I mean, they're part of the mainland Japan, like that. Those are also then, of course, Ainu people living there. And if you play something like Rupuchalis, right, those islands in the beginning of the game are Ainu countries, and they're not Japan. You know, like Japan, it's a vast country. So the Japan, I don't remember the exact year now, but yeah, those islands there east of Hokkaido, they were not taken over by Japan until very recently. Yeah, like they usually have Ainus there. They were pretty. I mean, they had Ainus, but they weren't like overpopulated. So, you know, just a few other people living there. Today, they're still, you know, of course, quite remote and, you know, much, but still. Same thing, of course, with Hokkaido for that matter. Hokkaido was Ainu, right? And most of the, you know, the Japanese Sengoku era, right, with, you know, different food or in Japan, didn't include so much of Hokkaido. I mean, people living in Hokkaido, mainly the Ainus, right, as is an anime, but there wasn't that much happening in Hokkaido, right? Which is kind of interesting about, yeah, like Japan as a country is quite new, right? Because it had so many, you know, feudal states, right? So actually it wasn't Japan, it was like, you know, the emperor and all this, you know, in the conflicts, right? And then no one was really controlling Hokkaido. Like so much back in, on and off they were, but not really fully. So yeah, that's yeah. But this anime here, you know, I like how it delves on that. Oh, these people are Ainus from this country, but they're the same language, but they have kind of difference here. And her clothing is like that because it's like Sakhalin Ainu, and she knew that Asipa was like a Hokkaido Ainu because her color is this thing and that's different in this thing and so on. So I don't know, guys, but I love the Golden Kamuy. Yeah, I love all that historical aspects and the details, and the, you know, the information and so on, right? But anyway, yeah, again, I think it's a great episode. The comedy was there, right? The fights were there. And, yeah, one thing I really loved too was, of course, when they have these things before. Just after they're showing them, like, you're muscular, let's fight. I have to say, I really love how, of course, this is a weird interview aspect, where they're like sitting there in some kind of, you know, looks like a reality show, like Hell's Kitchen or whatever, but they're kind of talking to the TV cast, and they're like, today, I felt it was a good day. I felt I was bigger than the Russians. And you see the next guy's like, those Russians pissed me off, so I wanted revenge. It's like, yeah, like that's kind of weird. So they watch these reality shows, right? Like I mentioned, Hell's Kitchen, or I don't know, The Apprentice or whatever, right? You know what I'm talking about. In those shows, they take, you know, the cast to interview them, right? It usually has a kind of booth somewhere they go in, and usually the monologue is like, oh, today she betrayed my trust, and I'm gonna get her back, like Big Bang, you know, so Big Bang, I mean, and Big Bang, so yeah, that kind of thing, right? So I think it was really fun with anime. Suddenly, all four of them is giving like a monologue to the camera, like, yes, that Russian guy pissed me off, so I was gonna beat him up based on this thing. Yeah, it's like really weird, but that's why I love anime, because it's just so funny. Yeah, it's like, what's happening? Why is it like a reality show? You know, I don't remember what it's called, but like, yeah, they have it like the, I don't know, the speak to the camera, I don't know, like the inner monologue reality show part. Yeah, like, why is that happening? Why is that happening? It's like, but it doesn't make any sense from like an actual narration. It's just funny. Yeah, it's just really funny, right? Now with the photos. But that's why this anime is the best anime, because no other anime would suddenly do that, but also still being really serious. I mean, you can see that kind of stuff in something like Gintama, right? Or some other, you know, more based on parodies and, you know, kind of, yeah, like full-on comedy animes would kind of do that stuff, perhaps, right? But in Golden Kamuy, it's like, no, it's a very serious drama about death and survival in really cold places and so on, Hina. And then suddenly, they also had these weird jokes, yeah, but then you know what I'm talking about, you've seen them before, but still, I love this in Golden Kamuy. It's like, what's happening? Why is this like, really weird reality kind of spoof thing happening suddenly? And same with the photos, like, look at the photo, there's a naked man, yeah, it's like, that's Golden Kamuy, or else it wouldn't be Golden Kamuy if it didn't have these weird jokes every now and then, right? That's just how the anime is. Anyway, see you guys later today with the Logan Kobe show, Cute Girl Done Sleeping or something. And I'll see you guys with that shortly from now.